Question 10 asks us to solve the square root of 2x minus 5 equals the square root of 3x plus 4 minus 2. So we're solving for x in this equation, and I'm just going to rewrite what we have. Square root of 2x minus 5 equals the square root of 3x plus 4 minus 2. So what we want to do is get rid of these square root signs, and to do that we have to do one at a time, and we have one on its own on the left side, so we can get rid of that square root sign simply by squaring both sides of our equation. So I'm going to square this side and square this side. And so on the left side, the square root sign and the squared cancels out, and we get 2x minus 5. On this side, we have to expand it out. So we have 3x plus 4 minus 2 times square root of 3x plus 4 minus 2. So I'm just going to multiply this out. So square root of 3x plus 4 times the square root of 3x plus 4 is just going to be 3x plus 4. And square root of 3x plus 4 times the negative 2 is negative 2 times the square root of 3x plus 4. We have another negative 2 times square root of 3x plus 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4 on the outside. Okay, so now I can start to combine some like terms. So we have a 3x here, we have plus 4 and another plus 4, that's plus 8. We have a negative 2 times this square root minus a negative 2 times the same square root. So we can add those. It's plus and negative, so we have negative 4 times square root of 3x plus 4. Okay, so now I'm going to shuffle some things around. I'm going to move this term over to the left side by adding it to both sides of my equation. Oops, sorry, that's 4. So this is what I get on the left side of the equation. I'm also going to move this 2x and minus 5 to the other side by subtracting 2x and adding 5. So it cancels out on this side. I'm left with 4 times the square root of 3x plus 4. And 3x minus 2x is just x. And a positive 8 plus a positive 5 is plus 13. And so now I can do the same thing and square both sides of my equation to get rid of the second square root. I'm squaring this side and this side. On the left side, I square the 4, so I get 16. And then squaring cancels out the square root signs, so I'm left with 3x plus 4. And on the right side, I have x plus 13 times x plus 13. Okay, I'm going to multiply this 16 into the brackets, so 16 times 3x gives me 48x. 16 times positive 4 is a positive 64. And on the right side, x times x is x squared. X times 13, 13x. 13 times x is another 13x. 13 times 13 is 169. Combining some like terms on the right side, we get x squared plus 26x, 13 plus 13, and plus 169. And now I'm going to move everything over to the right side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 48x, subtract 64. All right, and so that gives me 0 equals x squared. Positive 26 minus 48 is negative 22x. And positive 169 minus 64 is a positive 105. Sorry, 105. So now we can factor this to find out what x equals, but for me that's a little bit hard to see what the factors are. And so what I'm going to do is use the quadratic formula, and that is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So plugging in our values for a, b, and c, we get x equals, our b is negative 22, so those negatives cancel out and we have a positive 22. And so we get negative 22 squared, which is 484, minus 4 times a, which is 1 in our case, times c, which is 105. And that's over 2 times a, which is 1. So simplifying this, 22 plus or minus the square root of 484, and 4 times 1 times 105 ends up being 420. So minus 420 here. And that's over 2. So x equals 22 plus or minus 484 minus 420 is 64. So we can see that's going to be a nice square root to work out. And so we get 22 plus or minus square root of 64 is 8, plus or minus 8 over 2. So now I'm going to split this up into the two options. We get x1 equals 22 plus 8 over 2. x2 is 22 minus 8 over 2. Working this out, 22 plus 8 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. 22 minus 8 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. So our two answers are x equals 15 and x equals 7. Last thing we want to do is just make sure that these values for x work with our original problem, because we know that with a square root sign we can't have a negative number under the square root sign. So we just want to check, we know that the value under the expression under the square root, so 2x minus 5, has to be greater than or equal to 0. So if we solve for x here, we get that x is greater than or equal to 5 divided by 2, which is around 2.5. Both our answers are above 2.5, so that works out. With the second one, we have 3x plus 4 under the square root sign. That also has to be greater than or equal to 0. We solve for x again. We get that x has to be greater than or equal to negative 4/3. So again, both these numbers are greater than negative 4/3, so they work, and they are our answers to question 10.